धीमहि यो यो नमः प्रचोदयात्। ॐ भूर्भुवः स्वः तत्सवितुर्वरेण्यं भर्गो देवस्य धीमहि धियो यो नमः प्रचोदयात्। ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्ति। प्रकृतिं परमामभयां वरदां नररूपधरां जनतापहरां शरणागतसेवकतोषकरीं प्रणमामि परां जननीं जगतां गुणहीनसुतान् अपराधयुतान् कृपयाद्यसमुद्धर मोहगतान् तरणीं भवसागर पारगरीं प्रणमामि परां जननीं जगतां विषयां कुसुमं परिहृत्य सदा चरणाम्बुरुहामृतं शान्तिसुधां पिबबृन्दमनो भवरोगहरां प्रणमामि परां जननीं जगतां कृपां कुरु महादेवी सुतेषु प्रणतेषु च चरणाश्रयदानेन कृपामयि नमोऽस्तु ते। लज्जापटाविते नित्यं शारदे ज्ञानदायिके पापेभ्यो न सदा रक्ष कृपामयि नमोऽस्तु ते। रामकृष्ण गतप्राणां तन्नाम श्रवणप्रियां तद्भावरञ्जिताकारां प्रणमामि मुहुर्मुहुः। पवित्रं चरितं यस्याः पवित्रं जीवनं तथा पवित्रता स्वरूपिण्ये तस्यै कुर्मो नमो नमः। देवीं प्रसन्नां प्रणतार्तिहन्त्रीं योगीन्द्रपूज्यां युगधर्मपात्रीं तां शारदां भक्तिविज्ञानदात्रीं दयास्वरूपां प्रणमामि कृष्णं जगद्गुरुं पादपद्मे तयो श्रित्वा प्रणमामि मुहुर्मुहुः। जय श्री गुरु महाराज जी की जय। जय श्री महामाय की जय। जय श्री स्वामी जी महाराज जी की जय। ओम श्री महाकाली महालक्ष्मी महासरस्वती श्री दुर्गा माता की जय।
Om Namo Narayanaya to revered Pravrajika Ishtaprana Mataji and dear devotees. We welcome you to our special program to celebrate National Women's Day. Today, we acknowledge the strength and resilience of women and their contribution to society and country. We pay tribute to the generations of women whose struggles laid the foundations for the progress made in empowering women and achieving gender equality. Equality empowers women, and empowered women change the world. We are indeed blessed that we have role models like Sri Ramakrishna, who renewed the ancient Vedic ideal of spiritual empowerment for women by establishing the motherhood of God in Sri Sarada Devi. The Master reminds us of the ideal of the Sahadharmini, or the partnership of husband and wife in fulfilling dharmic activities. We are blessed that revered Pravrajika Ishtaprana Mataji will address us later in the program. Our speaker today is Dr. Shelly Sietel, a practitioner coach since 2005 and a career specialist for over 25 years, working in the tertiary education sector. Through her expansive career, she developed extensive experience and competencies in strategic thinking, leadership and management, staff development and management, project management, student development, facilitation, and training. Sheri has her doctorate in education in the field of career choice of medical students, and she also has professional qualifications in coaching. Sheri focuses on creating a balance of the various aspects of life and inner transformational work through various programs and modalities of healing. She is passionate about personal transformational teachings and practices. Sheri enjoys coaching, developing and facilitating youth and adult leadership and self-management programs. The focus area of life coaching spans over career issues, relationship challenges, personal and in the workplace, work-life balance, and transitions in life.
Om Aim Reem Sarvadeva Devi Swarupinye Shri Sarada Devi Namaha. Revered Pravrajika Ishtaprana Mataji and loving devotees, Om Namo Narayanaya. My topic is framed as a question. Who are we and what are we doing here? There are three parts to the talk: a short introduction, the crises and challenges we face, and some problem-solving ideas and growth pointers. I begin with two quotations taken from a video on social media. You will play many roles in life. Don't forget the most important one, you. And nobody can knock you down because God is the one that sustains you. These are applicable to all children, youth, adults, and the elderly. During my chats with Mataji in preparation for this talk, she said, "We have been doing the Women's Day program for the past 10 years, and we still face many challenges. I asked myself then, what do I want to share with you today that may help to lessen these stresses and engender peace, harmony, and growth for ourselves, our community, and greater society? At the outset, I want to say that much of the talk is based on real cases, my experiences, readings, trends from my practice as a coach and career specialist, and discussions with those who are knowledgeable. I would also like to take the opportunity to express my deep gratitude to all those who assisted in preparing this presentation. Their wisdom and experiences will benefit us. As we navigate the challenges facing us, such as no shelter, houses and families have been eroded by the floods, no water, no electricity, no jobs, crime, lawlessness, etc. There are certain roles and responsibilities that take priority, and we continue to fulfill them. The choices and decisions we make in life are to allow us to progress. The talk aims at helping you to move forward from helplessness and inertia to one of hope. Some of the challenges facing us today are associated with dysfunctional families, which include child-headed homes, single mothers who sometimes work 2 jobs, single dads who are barely coping with work, household chores, their children's needs and their needs. There are financial problems, mental and health challenges, and poor communication. These problems are enhanced as we are prisoners in our own homes. Families sometimes depend on others to provide for them. Each one is facing a unique challenge, causing anxiety, anger, depression, and helplessness. In our age of advanced technology and networking, information and help are readily available. Although some are coping, however, many are struggling and surviving with great difficulty. Today, I will achieve the purpose of this presentation if one benefits from this presentation. Today, women and mothers have taken on high-level positions in their chosen careers, while some men have opted to become stay-at-home dads. These role changes are accompanied by both advantages and disadvantages. Owing to our problems, we are driven by emotions such as guilt, arising from working long hours and or due to separation, fear, loss, hurt, resentment, low self-worth, shame, and disempowerment. We are seeking recognition and appreciation on all fronts. Women are striving to do the right things for peace, approval, and to prove our worth. More often than not, our dads are away from the children, and those who have their children have to learn quickly how to nurture, do household chores, and live a life they are not ready to handle. Conflict is therefore inevitable, especially when there's a blame game going on. Another challenge is the stay-at-home men and women in their 60s and 70s. Many women have never worked and are experiencing the empty nest syndrome. They are frustrated and bored. The men have worked hard, done their duty to provide for their families. The children are grown up and getting on with their lives. Our children are working away due to employment opportunities and prospects away from home. They are striving to build their lives. In some instances, the retirees stay at home doing nothing. Some of us are at home, are unhappy and discontent. Are we aware of what our spouses are thinking and feeling? Women nurture their children and families and are unhappy. Whom do we blame for the situation we find ourselves in? We find ourselves in a web of emotions, consequences, relations, and eventualities daily. This brings me to the platform from which I address you today. We are guided by spiritual practices, scriptures, spiritual leaders, and satsangs, professionals, mentors, friends, and other sources. And still, we seem to be stuck. Why? Let us examine these complexities. A multifaceted approach may provide answers and solutions. I will attempt to offer a few pointers here. Firstly, we must acknowledge that in any relationship, there are two or more participants. They say it takes two to tango or two hands to clap. Where there is conflict, we must take ownership of it. When we take 50% of ownership and responsibility for any situation, we can find solutions. Our relationships should be such that we share the responsibility, commitment, and ownership. In conflictual situations, we should not blame, abuse, and use our children as pawns to resolve issues. This way of resolving the problem or situation gives rise to more pain and suffering. Secondly, most of what we experience in adulthood comes from our experiences and conditioning in childhood. We may have heard people say, take care of the hurt child and address the problem as the inner child. Knowingly, unknowingly, and intentionally or unintentionally, someone would have said or done something that left an emotional scar on us. And we want to know why we repeatedly face certain problems. The sad thing is that until we resolve the old hurt, it will continue to show in our relationships, be it in our personal life or in the workplace. We spend most of our adult life unconditioning the conditioning from childhood. The learned behaviors, experiences, etc., are usually imposed on us. If you are not aware or not accepting of this conditioning, it becomes difficult to find solutions. There are services and professionals in this line of work who can help. To do this, we must be willing to get such help. Thirdly, our karmic journey continues through this birth, and much of what we experience may go back to previous lifetimes. Generational patterns have been noted in many cases, and I found this true in doing the work on myself. We bring these into our current relationships and wonder why we are not able to solve our problems. If you take a close look at mannerisms and family traditions in our family circle, we pick up the patterns of sibling rivalry, greed for wealth, our status in society, and the kinds of careers we choose. We are not aware of who or what is influencing us in an obvious and sometimes subtle way. These patterns can be disrupted through correct interventions. It comes back to our willingness to address these matters courageously and with intentional commitment to resolve them. The fourth way, Holy Mother Sarada Devi says, we should not find fault with others, but look at our own faults first. Faults in us are behavioral. For example, leaving a bottle open or not putting things in the right place repeatedly. These kinds of actions create frustration that lead to anger and abuse. When our actions are incorrect, they lead to unwanted consequences. Then there are personality traits. We all have them. For example, if our partner or anyone repeatedly says that we are stubborn, we may be unaware or unwilling to accept this observation. We are not fully aware of when and how this trait shows up. There are two things to understand and learn from this. One, that trait that we see in the other is a trait we have too. So if that person is your mirror, it is showing something about oneself. Two, personality traits are strong in some and weak in others. Again, an example could be strong-mindedness. If two people in a relationship or partnership are strong-minded, this could lead to dissonance in oneself and in the relationship. If strong-mindedness is a strong trait, is the strongest trait in the one and weaker in the other, it could result in imbalance and conflict in the relationship. Try this exercise. Write down the emotions you experience on a daily basis. Do this for a few days. Is it joy, elation, and ecstasy? Or is it anger, sadness, disappointment, embarrassment, and fear? In most instances, we will find more negative than positive emotions. We are layering on negative emotions and we wonder where the peace, joy, and happiness have gone. The positive emotions have dissipated. When we are not able to manage our emotional states and self-awareness, we will not be able to identify or manage others. We can only be in a healthy state of being when we are at ease, in peace, content, and fulfilled. We can do this when we focus on the self, having full awareness of every activity we are engaged in. A fifth pointer is that if there is a problem, identify the problem and describe it clearly for yourself. Understand the problem and solve it. If the problem persists, seek help and find ways to solve it. If the problem is left unattended, it will fester and will become a difficult situation to live in. I heard Dr. Phil say this many years ago. The pain of being in a toxic situation is far greater than the pain you will endure to leave the situation. We must decide. The choice you make should be about getting greater peace, harmony, joy, comfort, success for oneself and all concerned. It is about our existence and how to make it a beautiful one. The sixth way is this. Let's look at the acronym THINK. Are our words, actions, and thinking following this acronym? Is it true, helpful, inspiring, necessary, and kind? Furthermore, how do we practice these conditions? Do we choose our thoughts, words, and actions at the right time or not? Do we speak of facts or not? Are our thoughts, words, and actions gentle or harsh, profitable or not? Are they filled with loving kindness or are we inwardly malicious? Lastly, I encourage you to be in oneness with nature and the universe. Being in sync and in synergy with the universe grants us strength and courage to do what we need to do. Become mindful of the rising and setting of the sun, the singing of the birds in the morning and evening, the activities of nature around you. Be aware of the phases of the moon and how this might affect your well-being. Ground yourself and be centered in your being, because to iterate, what matters the most is you. Most spiritual masters will tell you this. Be yourself, find yourself, and in your journey, most important is you, yourself, this one. Change is painful, but nothing is as painful as being stuck somewhere where you don't belong. If a butterfly could speak, it will tell you that the process of metamorphosis from egg, larva, pupa, caterpillar to butterfly is not an easy one. So too for our journey in this life. Focus on the process to develop wings and to become a beautiful butterfly and to fly. I leave you with this thought. For our men and brothers, You worship Mother, Goddess on the altar with deep reverence. She has a place, and I'm sure you would never think of violating her place. Similarly, with every woman you encounter, be it a mother, grandmother, sister, aunt, daughter, work colleague, or servant, embrace her with respect, care, loving kindness, and honor. This practice will undoubtedly lead to solving some of the problems we are encountering today. For our women and sisters, if you know your place and own your place on the altar, embrace yourself with love, respect, courage, wisdom, and uphold yourself as a divine manifestation of Mother Shakti. You will not falter. Be the creator who sustains peace, harmony, unity, and loving relations. You will always be a bottomless fountain of divine energy. You have the gift and ability to draw from this. Finally, there has to be a balance between the feminine and masculine in all of us to create, build, and sustain harmonious and lasting relationships of interdependence, not codependence, synergy, and collaboration. May we all be protected and blessed with the grace and guidance of Master and Holy Mother. Thank you for listening. Hari Om, that's it.
Om Namo Narayana. Thank you, Dr. Seetal, for your insights and methods to shift the landscape, which, when implemented, can signal an evolution to assist us in navigating our challenges and shaping a brighter future. Dr. Seetal's contact details will be available on your screen at the conclusion of the program. We are grateful that Revered Pravrajika Ishtaprana Mataji will bless us with her wise counsel. Revered Mataji will now address us.
Om Aim Hreem Sarvadeva Devi Swarupinye Shri Sarada Devi Namaha. Om Namo Narayanaya, dear sisters and brothers. Today, most people face innumerable challenges in life. No one wants to be unhappy. In fact, everything we do is to make ourselves happy. We ask, why are so many people suffering? In the Mahabharata, we read that when Bhishma was on the battlefield, he was on the deathbed, he had tears in his eyes. Someone commented, surely he is not afraid of death, but why has he tears in his eyes? When he was asked, Bhishma said, although Sri Krishna, that is God himself, is on the side of the Pandavas, their suffering is endless. They have suffered so much. Happiness and sorrow, good and bad, and all the pairs of opposites are a part of life. Just as day follows night, peace and joy follow sorrowful days. We can succeed if we have the right attitude and try our best to go forward. Do not allow depression to overpower you. Then it becomes very difficult to overcome hardships. Many women have suffered much, but they do not lose hope. They were courageous, strong-minded, and determined to evolve. The COVID pandemic, the looting, and the floods have caused untold grief to hundreds of people. So many have lost their near and dear ones, but life continues and people find means to progress. In spite of our challenges, it is good to count our blessings, as there are people who are experiencing far greater difficulties. It is good to talk about our hardships, as someone may be able to help. Prayer too is important. God is all-knowing and He always helps those who seek it. Never take to bad habits like substance abuse. These can never give us happiness, but only shatters us even more. Recently, a young girl had lost her dad and was devastated. She couldn't study and felt very sad. Being a bright student, she always wanted to study medicine. She was advised never to be depressed, but to concentrate on her studies and be determined to be a doctor. Surely her dad too will want her to be successful. He will not want her to be sad and miserable, but rather, wherever he is, he will be happy for her to study well and will be proud of her when she has completed her degree. Thus, she will help herself and be able to bring comfort to many people. She felt comforted and promised to study well. Each one of us has a responsibility to ourselves, and we have to do our best to progress. When we accept our challenges as opportunities to learn and improve, we increase our self-confidence and empower ourselves to evolve and be happy. When we make an attempt to improve, we acquire inner strength and others also help us. God's grace works through kind-hearted people who assist others. Why is it beneficial to cultivate good thoughts? Why must we pray, read holy books, and keep good company? These help us to keep the purpose of life in mind. We have to constantly remind ourselves that we are divine by nature. Everything in life is fleeting. It is here today, gone tomorrow. Swami Vivekananda encourages us to have positive, strong, helpful thoughts even from childhood. By having strong minds, we will not be overpowered by negativity. After all, we are where our minds are. When we think about God and remember that our real nature is also divine, then we learn that life's journey is not always rosy. It has challenges. Shri Krishna's message to humanity in the Bhagavad Gita was delivered on the battlefield. Encouraging Arjuna to fight, the Lord said, "Arjuna, whence has this shameful dejection come upon you? Wake up, O vanquisher of foes. It does not befit you to be dejected." Swami Vivekananda reminds us, all power is within you. You can do anything and everything. It is natural that during difficult times we feel sad, angry, depressed, or frustrated. As much as we accept this, we have to remember that we cannot remain in these moods for long, as it does not help us to overcome our difficulties and it does not help us to improve. It is important for us to gather our strength as soon as possible so that we can live meaningfully. We have to be mindful of the fact that God resides in our hearts as the soul. Surely we want our soul to advance and not to stagnate. Only we can help ourselves. Lots of people can give us advice and support, but we have to make the effort to utilize the grace that flows through this help. An old song says, "If you are helpless, become a support to others and try to bring joy to them. Thus, you yourself will benefit tremendously, and unknown to you, you too will reach the goal of your life." Sometimes we become selfish and overstress on how we feel. Remember that when you are in pain, those around you are also unhappy. Do some activity that will give you peace and joy. This joy will spread and many will benefit. You will gain inner confidence and strength. And as Sharda Ma says, you will see that the sadness, the sorrow will pass away like water under a bridge. We should not blame anyone for our troubles. Accept whatever happens as the will of God to help us to grow. When we pray and meditate regularly, we feel God's unseen protecting power. The power of prayer helps us to overcome anger, jealousy, pride, and any of our negative feelings. Today, we worship Sharda Ma and look upon her as the Divine Mother. Many of us are not aware that Sharda Ma had only one sari which she mended many times and wore it without complaining. This was when the master had left the body and mother had no help. No one even knew that mother had only boiled vegetables to eat for a long time, and that too without salt. Great people experience difficult challenges, yet they are able to transcend negative emotions such as anger or pain through the power of prayer and self-effort. Mahendranath Gupta was a school principal. He was so frustrated with life that he wanted to commit suicide. A friend took him to Dakshineshwar to meet the master, Sri Ramakrishna. Mahendranath, known as M in the Gospel of Sri Ramakrishna, was mesmerized by the master's nectar-like words and his deep wisdom. He was amazed to know that master read no books, yet he could see God clearly. Master's radiant face and his comforting words not only made M forget his grief, but also increased his faith in God. As M continued to visit the master regularly, his life was transformed and he became a saint. When we read the Gospel of Sri Ramakrishna or any holy book, we feel calm and become aware of the higher purpose of life. We learn that we have to do our duties, but we must pray and give a part of our mind to God. Then we can face our challenges boldly and be determined to succeed. We feel enriched and become pillars of strength to others also. Parents must prepare children for the trials of life. Sometimes we give them everything they ask for, so they cannot accept no for an answer later. They have to learn that life is full of ups and downs, and there will be times when they may have to struggle. This training has to be from a very young age. It is so heartwarming and inspiring to see how some parents teach children, even from the age of 2 or 3, to be selfless and share their toys or food with others. They learn about less fortunate children and want to share their joys with them. This is a divine quality which makes them understand that God is in everyone. It is also important that children talk about what upsets them. When we explain the reasons behind their experiences, they understand and tend to become mature in their thinking. Unknown to us, it helps them to become selfless and content. Sri Ramakrishna advises us, if you enter the world without first cultivating love of God, You will be entangled more and more. You will be overwhelmed with its dangers, its grief, and its sorrow. And the more you think of worldly things, the more you will be attached to them. To fix the mind on God is difficult in the beginning unless one practices meditation in solitude. The Master adds, entering the world after knowing God or after cultivating devotion for God is like putting on shoes to walk over thorny bushes. May God give us the strength to overcome our challenges and be a support to others. May we grow through our experiences and realize our divine nature. Hari Om Tat Sat. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti.
We thank Mataji for her wisdom. Mataji's advice can help us to live harmoniously, and her gentle reminder that the life of Sri Ma Sharda signifies that women can live a balanced life and be spiritually empowered, and that we can be graceful, stately, and dignified despite circumstances. We thank you for joining us today. Mataji will offer the concluding prayer. Om Namo Narayanaya.
Om Namo Narayanaya, dear sisters and brothers. We pray to Shardama, our compassionate and divine mother, to sprinkle a drop of her motherly affection on us. A verse in praise of Shardama says, I do not get peace by attending to cleaning and other household chores, but when I remember your powerful sayings and do the same, great power as if manifests in me, and I do not feel the burden at all. O Mother, consort of Sri Ramakrishna, we adore you this holy morning. May Mother Sharda fill us with strength, with positive thoughts, with the conviction that we can face our challenges because she dwells in our hearts. May Mother always bless us, always be with us. We may forget to hold your hand, Mother, but please hold our hands always and do not leave us. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti.
ॐ सर्वेषां स्वस्तिर्भवतु सर्वेषां शान्तिर्भवतु सर्वेषां पूर्णं भवतु सर्वेषां मङ्गलं भवतु सर्वे भवन्तु सुखिनः सर्वे सन्तु निरामयाः सर्वे भद्राणि पश्यन्तु मा कश्चित् दुःखभाग् भवेत् ॐ पूर्णमदः पूर्णमिदं पूर्णात् पूर्णमुदच्यते पूर्णस्य पूर्णमादाय पूर्णमेवावशिष्यते ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः हरि ॐ तत्सत् जय श्री गुरु महाराज की जय महामाई की जय स्वामी जी महाराज की जय गंगा मात की जय महावीर स्वामी जी की जय, सर्व ऋषि मुनियों की जय, पार्वती पतये हर हर महा